Welcome to the Simply Authentic podcast, where we hope to inspire you to dream bigger, empower you to take charge of your own life, and challenge you to be your most authentic self.
Welcome back to the Simply Authentic podcast. I'm Tanya Murfin.
And I'm Angie Mullings. And we want to give you a quick overview of an event that we recently attended, Ladies Who Launch. And we know that we have a lot of listeners out there who were also in attendance to this event, as well as we saw a lot of our past guests at this event.
We did, yeah.
But it is probably my favorite event of the year.
And it's put on by 417 Magazine. So Logan Aguirre has challenged women with showing up at this event once a year. And this year there were 600 women in a room hosted at the
White River Conference Center.
Yes, I was going to say the Wonders of Wildlife. It was not there, White River Conference Center.
Yeah.
And the theme this year, Angie, was Embrace Your Journey. Mm-hmm. And I just want to mention the coloring and the feels of it.
Yes.
So they had an amazing balloon person.
Yes.
And I would give props to that person if I knew who he or she was. Mm-hmm. So if you know who they are, then make sure you put that in the comments on social media. But
yes.
So everything was vibrant pinks and purples and greens and yellows. And you just felt the energy from the moment you walked in the door.
Right.
And then the long-standing kind of wink as to wear pink to this event.
Right.
Which Logan did not wear pink this year. She wore white.
Yes.
But so maybe the tide's a change in there. But it's fun to show up in a place where everybody has, a shade of pink on. And I don't know. It just
makes you feel good,
gives
right?
You, yes.
It's good. Pink and orange, those are good energy colors.
Yes.
And
agreed.
So it's just you hits you the minute, like you said, you walk in the door, just the energy and the vibrancy of the event, and everybody is in a great mood. And they had some additions this year. So the event has in the past traditionally started at 11:30 and gone to about 5, and then they have the happy hour after. But this year they added an event prior to, which was called Rise and Shine, which I attended, and it was started at, I think it was 9 and went to 11. So it was about a 3-hour, and it was a workshop.
Okay.
So it wasn't you sit in a room and people talk at you, which is really not what Ladies Who Launch is either. There are lots of great speakers.
Yes.
But they do encourage networking and all of that between speakers. But this was more of a workshop. We're going to sit you down and we're going to have more conversation. And the workshop was really about everybody and their different personalities and how it is important to address people where they are. Mm-hmm. And we talked about leadership. We talked about leadership not always being at the top. Mm-hmm. And you and I have had that conversation that there are leaders at the middle level and leaders at the bottom. Mm-hmm. Lots of people, you can lead where you are, and that's kind of what the workshop was about. It was conducted by Stephanie Anderson, who is with People Centric, and she just sort of orchestrated the morning and made us get involved and talk at our tables and give some input. And it was a really great way to start off the day, and I believe there was about 100 people in the room. Okay. Apparently, that was a response to survey results that they got back, that they wanted to have more interaction. Attendees wanted to have more interaction, and maybe smaller groups where they could have discussion and more workshop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. I didn't get to go to that, but I want to point out Logan's story that she gave when she got up and introduced the event starting. And she was essentially telling us that at last year's event, which was my first to attend, at last year's Ladies Who Launch, she was in a funk and she was in a really bad place. And she was vulnerable and told her story this year because she's a year past it. And I guess at this time last year at the event, she had hit burnout and she was really struggling. And her telling that story this year really made you reflect on the last year and thinking, you never would have known this. Obviously, you didn't. She got up there and she has a bubbly personality. She led just like the leader she is. And for her to admit that she was in a really dark place last year, really, I think, humanized Logan.
Yeah.
And really the whole event.
It set the tone for the whole event.
It did.
I believe that I believe it's the best one I've ever been to, simply because she created from the get-go this safe place where everybody could talk about needing to break through, being in a rut, not being our authentic selves.
Right.
We heard the word authentic, and of course
We
that's
did.
top of mind for us.
Sure.
But it really was a resounding, you heard it over and over with each speaker, each section of the day, you heard the word authentic come through. And I give her great props for being able to stand up and say, listen, this is where I was. And it was a great lesson to all of us that we don't often know where people are in their lives. They look really good on the outside, and they dress well, they talk well, they look like they have it all together, but we don't know. We don't know what's happening on the inside, and we need to feel better about voicing where we are, about being transparent about where we are, and not feel bad about that or self-conscious about that.
Yeah.
Again, we need more of those safe places where we can just be ourselves.
And really extending some grace to people who maybe you think are off or have maybe even behaved poorly in front of you. And it could just be that they're in that dark place.
Right.
And, you know, not every day might be that way with a certain person or whatever, but I think that it's just a good reminder that we often don't know what's going on behind the screen or behind the scenes, and that we need to be kind and we need to say, maybe she was just having a bad day.
Right.
And be accepting of that.
Yeah.
So the first...
And I want to mention that Logan mentioned a book. She first mentioned that she listened to a podcast, one of Mel Robbins' podcasts, which we enjoy listening to Mel as well.
We do.
And her guest was Dr. Alan Alter, and he wrote a book, The Anatomy of a Breakthrough. And I went out and bought that book after she mentioned it, and I'm in the middle of it right now. But Tanya, it reminds me of you and I. In January of 2023, I think we were both in need of a breakthrough at that point. We didn't know it. We couldn't have articulated it that well or that way, but we were both searching for something.
Yeah.
We were both searching for an outlet that we could talk about everything, anything that we had on our minds, and pass forward our expertise and our experience in order to help others. And everything about this book that I've read so far really kind of describes where I think you and I were at that time, and we had a breakthrough. And we've often talked about embracing the journey, enjoying the journey, because you don't know where it's going to lead to.
Right.
And here we are over a year and a half later, and we're putting out some great content and talking about, Ladies Who Launch and other things that are close to us.
Yeah, agree. Well, I will want you to pass that book to me when you're done.
Yes.
Okay. So the first speaker of the day was Christina Ford, and we know her as the coach's wife.
Yeah.
The basketball, the
Coach
Bears,
Dana Ford.
yes, wife, and she created and started the Rebound Foundation.
Right. Yeah.
So she kind of has her own notoriety around here.
Yes.
And her speech was really touching. She gave a kind of a vision into her childhood and her upbringing, and her message in that was perseverance.
Yeah.
That how you are born, your family situation, even
Station in life.
exactly, even after that, you're never stuck in one place, and, and it doesn't define you just because one thing has happened to you or you were raised a certain way. It doesn't define the rest of your life. And I think that's a great reminder for all of us, really.
Exactly. Yeah. And she talked about their financial plan that they had, that they set down, because she was a teenage mom, ended up going to college, had the perseverance and the drive to go to college, get a degree. That's where she met Coach Ford. And she talked about them sitting down. She talked about times she had no money in her life, and she knew she needed a plan, and after watching or listening to Dave Ramsey, they followed his plan, and and she talked about sticking to your plan. Things in life are going to derail you and take you off course, but you need the plan and you need to stick to the plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And lots of blessings along the way.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that.
I did
Then there was a Women Who Mean Business panel. So this is kind of a common theme each year.
Right.
And Logan asks a panel of 4 or 5 women questions. And the women this year were either business owners or CEOs or
leaders of their organization.
That's
you
right.
had the leader of Care to Learn and Granita Latham
That's
with
right.
SPS. So, yeah.
Yep. So very interesting, diverse panel.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed that segment. And I think because, Logan's questions were geared at getting information out of them to help us in our career, our family, leading essentially,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And how they had gotten to where they were and the missteps along the way and what the biggest lessons were and so forth. And I love the camaraderie that was created up there with these women, and all of their answers. You just got a little window into their soul with their answers and what they've been through. And some of it was, made the crowd laugh, and some of it made you tear up. But it was very authentic.
It was
So
very
I always
authentic.
love that part.
And each of them had a different story and a
did.
different answer to the question. And it made you realize that everybody has a different way of succeeding, right? It doesn't all look the same. So just because your path doesn't look as pretty and pristine as someone else's doesn't mean it's not the right path.
Right.
It's just your path, and different things come up and you have to address them as they go. And it was just a great lesson in that, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Then our friend
So,
Lori Robertson
we moved
spoke.
on to Lori Robertson,
Yeah.
and we love her, of course.
We do.
But
Lori always has a great message.
she does, and she told one of our favorite stories of her glasses, her ugly glasses
Yeah.
before she got her LASIK surgery.
Yeah.
And that's a favorite story of mine, but Lori is a pro at telling stories and making you see through it,
Right.
see the message through it.
Impact through storytelling.
That's right. And that's
Yeah.
what she does for a living.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and her message was the power of your personal brand, and that not everything maybe is as you see it, and or when you are trying to promote your personal brand, be sure you are putting out there what you want people to believe about you.
Right.
Because I think oftentimes what we see on social media in bad times, or people can be ugly just with, they had a bad experience and they're quick to shout it out there. I think many times it does not promote your brand well if you've had a bad day and you put it all over social media.
Right. Yeah.
So be cautious, my
Yeah.
friends.
That was a good lesson. good lesson
Yes.
to learn. And then the day wrapped up with Mallory Brown, and she's a humanitarian. She had a great message about her humanitarian efforts and the fact that she is doing a marathon, which is 26 miles, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah.
And for each mile, she is recognizing someone that she has had a conversation with. She's a journalist. Yeah.
Filmmaker, and
Yeah.
she's making a documentary out
Yes.
of this 26 miles. And she's only 4 or 5 miles in.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
she's got a ways to go, and she happened to have twins earlier this year. So she's had a little bit of a slowdown, I think, probably,
Right.
with bringing babies into this world. But Angie, the impact that her speech and the versions that we got to see, she showed us 3, I think, excerpts of her 26 miles.
Yes.
And I am so excited for her to get this documentary out. But she told one of her stories was about a gentleman in Vegas. And so she went to Vegas to see the 300 miles underneath Vegas that are storm sewer drainage
Right.
areas.
Yes. Yeah.
And she met a gentleman down there.
Yeah.
And we won't give away the story because
Yeah.
we'll wait and let her tell that because she has agreed to be one of our
She'll
guests.
be our guest
Yeah.
coming up in the fall. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So we're so excited about
Yes.
that. But so that was one story, and it was it was a tearjerker.
It was.
The whole room was crying.
It has a happy ending. So
Has a great
We'll
ending.
tell you that. And then she also, on one of her miles, interviewed a lady in another country where acid attacks are common.
Yes.
And she interviewed this lady who was terribly deformed from an acid attack by her husband.
By her own husband.
Yes, so that was a tearjerker as well, but a great message and a great story of, again, perseverance and
Yes.
the ability that the human spirit has to overcome anything.
Yeah.
We really do. We need to harness that and embrace that more, because I believe we lose it very, very easily when we get distracted or discouraged. We forget how powerful we can be.
Yes, and we often forget that there's other people in other worlds around us that don't live the blessed life that we live.
Yeah,
So
absolutely
so I'm so excited about her message and bringing that to our listeners.
Yes.
So
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. So all in all, it was a great day.
Yes.
It really, lots of networking, lots of sense of community and building relationships. Again, we got to visit with some of our past guests.
We did.
We got to make some new friends, and just look forward to that every year. They are growing. And
Yeah.
so next year, if you're looking for it, it will actually be in Branson, because they are taking this regional. So it won't just be a day in Springfield. It will be a regional event, 2-day event, and it will have some more workshops that are available with different topics, so that you can kind of pick and choose what you want to learn more about and be engaged that way.
So be looking for advertising over the next year for the 417 Ladies Who Launch event. We are big proponents, and we applaud you, Logan Aguirre, for bringing this to all of us.
Absolutely. And getting unstuck. Where would we be if you hadn't gotten unstuck?
That's right.
So we want to applaud our listeners as well for taking the time to do something that is for your own personal growth and health. We appreciate that, and we know that you could do a lot of different things with your time, so we appreciate that you are spending some time with us.
Yes, so thanks for tuning in. Please follow us on social media, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Simply Authentic podcast. Be sure to hit follow so that you can see each episode as it pops up weekly.